Hey guys, Red Eye Dingbat here, and well, we are going to be reading some SCPs whilst you watch me do a bit of strip mining. Why? Because I needed to do some strip mining, and I do really like reading the SCPs. So, let's begin with SCP-12, a bad composition. Item, SCP-12, Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-12 is to be kept in a darkened room at all times. If the object is exposed to light or seen by personnel using a light frequency other than infrared, remove personnel for mental health screening and immediate physical. Object is to be encased in an iron shielded box suspended from the ceiling with a minimum distance of 2.5 meters or 8 feet from the floor, walls, and any openings. Description: SCP-12 was retrieved by archaeologist K. M. Sandoval during the excavation of a northern Italian tomb destroyed in a recent storm. The object, a piece of handwritten musical score entitled On Mount Golgotha, part of a larger set of sheet music, appears to be incomplete. The red/black ink, first thought to be some sort of berry or natural dye ink, was later found to be human blood from multiple subjects. The first personnel to locate the sheet, Site-19 Special Salvage, and two members descend into insanity, attempting to use their own blood to finish the composition, ultimately resulting in massive blood loss and internal trauma. Following initial investigations, multiple test subjects were allowed access to the score. In every case, the subjects mutilated themselves in order to use their own blood to finish the piece, resulting in subsequent symptoms of psychosis and massive trauma. The subjects who managed to finish a section of the piece immediately committed suicide, declaring the piece to be impossible to complete. Attempts to perform the music have resulted in a disagreeable cacophony, with each instrumental part having no correlation or harmony with any of the other instruments. So this is quite a simple one. It's essentially a piece of sheet music that makes you want to complete it using your own blood, and when you do complete it, you realize that it can't be complete because it just goes on and on forever, and then you commit suicide because of that. And it doesn't make any sense with any instrument that's played on it. Okay, so it's sort of like an introductory to musical SCPs because there's quite a few music SCPs. Right. So that was SCP-11. No, 12. A bad composition. Now we are going on to SCP-13. Blue Lady cigarettes. Item: SCP-13. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-13 are to be kept in a secure storage vault at Site-66. Exposed subjects are to be monitored for differences between their symptoms. Exposed subjects are to be interviewed daily, and any changes in perception are to be logged. Description: SCP-13 is the collective designation of 242 cigarettes which display similar anomalies. The most common external detail between instances is the presence of the word Blue Lady handwritten on each cigarette in blue ink. Subjects who consume the contents of SCP-13 through inhalation will begin to perceive themselves as a specific unidentified woman. Subjects have described the woman to be aged between 25 and 35 years old, standing approximately 1.6 meters tall, with an estimated weight of between 50 and 55 kilograms. Additional recurring details include cropped dark hair, blue eyes, and bright blue lipstick. Immediately after consuming an instance of SCP-13, subjects will gradually begin to perceive reflections of themselves as having the features of the woman, and will gradually perceive their bodies changing to reflect her appearance over the course of the following weeks. All changes are entirely mental. The subject's body does not change outwardly, only their perception of themselves. These alterations are permanent and cannot be reversed. SCP-13 was discovered after the suicide of Ian Miles, packed in a large cardboard crate in his apartment. A cursory search of the apartment uncovered several hundred sketches of a figure strongly resembling the one perceived while under 13's effect. Miles' body had been found sitting at a desk, dead of a massive overdose, and draped over a handwritten note transcribed below. During the investigation of Miles' apartment, one civilian investigator became affected by 13's effect. An embedded agent soon contacted the nearest site. The subject, the artifact, and related evidence were extracted and contained. Currently, 217 instances of SCP-13 are contained at Biosite 66. 25 SCP-13 cigarettes are contained at Research Sector 09, pending further research into similar anomalous effects. Addendum. Below is the note which was acquired along with SCP-13. I see her everywhere. That sad blue lady. I feel like I should. I feel like I should know her, but I can't remember. I love her, but I don't know why. She's so beautiful and sweet and clear, but I don't know anymore. Her favorite flavor. Where did you go? I miss you. And that is SCP-13. This one's, I think, quite a sad one. And it's also very confusing. Like, these cigarettes make you think you're this woman. But obviously that's not what happened to Ian Miles. Like, and when he says, I feel like I should know, used to and should are both crossed out. So it actually ends up reading, I feel like I know her, but I can't remember. You know, it's like a thing that they do. But yeah, so that's SCP-13, Blue Lady Cigarettes. Now we are going on to SCP-14, the Concrete Man. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so the Concrete Man. SCP-14. Object Class. Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-14 is to be kept at site blank, in a chair with arms, preferably facing a window. Music should be supplied on a regular basis, preferably consistently. This music should not include pieces originating after 1937. A security camera should be present in SCP-14's room. Description: SCP-14 is a Caucasian male, appearing to be approximately 30 years of age, with black hair, brown eyes, and a somewhat round face. Records indicate his name to be Robert Chetford, confined in 1915 in the Norwich Asylum in Connecticut for delusional insanity, claiming that he had been cursed to live forever and was slowly turning to concrete in consequence. The asylum closed in 1937 and the patients were transferred to various other facilities. SCP-14 came to Foundation's attention in 19 blank from rumors of a patient who seemed to be entirely immobile and showed no signs of aging. Further investigation determined that acquisition was warranted. SCP-14 is to all outward appearances a normal man, but he does not appear to age and shows no signs of possessing a metabolism. He does not eat, drink, perspire, or in any other way demonstrate life functions. He breathes only to speak, and apart from his eyes and vocal apertures, is to all appearances utterly immobile. He has never shown any evidence of pressure ulcers, despite his position not having varied for several decades, nor do his muscles appear atrophied. He can converse normally, but shows little knowledge of or interest in events since his confinement. Addendum. Note. Frankly, were I to interview this man without knowing his history, I think he was a perfectly sane and well-adjusted individual who happens to be a quadriplegic. As it is, I have to conclude that he is the ultimate proof of the idea that the mind rules the body. He thinks he's concrete and will live forever. And so he's as close to both as he can be. Somehow. Dr. Blank. So, again, this is as you can see, there's a pattern with the early ones. They're, not world-ending events or absolute monstrosities. They're curiosities, essentially, a lot of them. Like, we've just gone through 3 of them. A bad composition, that's, quite bad, but again, all you have to do is not look at it. Not look at it through any other light other than infrared. Like, you can look at it in infrared light and stuff like that. Blue Lady cigarettes that just change your perception of who you are, sort of thing, in the mirror. Nothing that's gonna make you like a god or anything else. There's no massive backstory to these either. Okay. And then the Concrete Man. Again, it's a guy who thinks he's, immortal and can't move and made of concrete, and so his body doesn't age. He doesn't need to eat or anything else. It's just like curiosities. There's no massive backstory to these, which I find actually really nice. And it's concise, it's clear, and everything else. Now, we go on to SCP-15, Pipe Nightmare. Item, SCP-15. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-15 is impossible to move and is contained on site. A gap of at least 2 meters, 6 feet, needs to be maintained around the entire structure containing SCP-15 at all times, and no structures of any kind are to make contact with SCP-15's current containment structure. Exploration is permissible, but only in terms of 3, with full safety lines and GPS tracking. Any protrusions from SCP-15 must be capped and sealed immediately, with the new site recorded and logged. No aggressive action is to be made within SCP-15. No hand or power tools are allowed anywhere inside SCP-15. No repairs or maintenance are to be made anywhere on SCP-15. Description: SCP-15 is a mass of pipes, vents, boilers, and other various plumbing apparatus completely filling a warehouse in blank. The pipes appear to grow when not under observation, attempting to connect to nearby structures via sewer systems and underground plumbing. SCP-15 contains, at current estimate, over 190 kilometers, 120 miles, of pipes, ranging in diameter of 2.5 centimeters to over 1 meter. Some pipes appear new, while others are rusted and leaking. Pipes have been reported to be made of bone, wood, steel, pressed ash, human flesh, glass, and granite. No pipes are composed of lead, PVC plastic, copper, or any other traditional material for the production of pipes has been found. SCP-15 reacts to tools and aggression. Any personnel acting violently, carrying tools, or attempting to damage or repair SCP-15 in any way will trigger a reaction. Any pipes near the subject will burst, spraying the subject for several seconds before the flow suddenly stops. Pipes have been reported containing oil, mercury, Pipes have been reported containing oil, mercury, rats, a species of insect not yet identified, ground glass, seawater, entrails, and molten iron. Pipes will continue to burst around the subject until death or retreat. SCP-15 was cut back to its current structure after attaching to 11 other structures in the area. Currently, 11 personnel have been killed and 20 more are still missing. Reports have been made of banging and screaming coming from within SCP-15. This is a little bit, well, again, this is just concise, isn't it? It's a bunch of pipes that expand when they're not observed, and if you try and do anything to harm them, they will attack you. Simple as that, you know? I don't know what, like, it's the perfect sort of, like, this is what it does, this is what happens when you do anything to it, and stuff like that. Okay. So, now we're on to SCP-16. Sentient Microorganism. Okay. SCP-16. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-16 is to remain within the confines of a 5x5x5 meter room at all times, maintained at a temperature not to exceed 0 degrees Celsius. SCP-16 itself is to remain in a petri dish in the containment cube at all times unless directed otherwise by Level 4 or O5 personnel. Full documentation of experimentation with SCP-16 must be submitted before and after samples, and duplicates of SCP-16 may be taken. Failure to follow these procedures will result in termination or reassignment as Class D personnel. Only authorized personnel may be permitted to obtain samples of and experiment with SCP-16 under BCL5 containment conditions. If an outbreak does occur despite following the aforementioned procedures, directive-based personnel are to be implemented and Code Sigma lockdown and containment plan. If an outbreak does occur despite following the aforementioned procedures, directive-based personnel are to implement a Code Sigma lockdown and containment plan. Infected personnel are to be terminated on site by security forces wearing standard mission-oriented protective posture, or MOPP, anti-biological and anti-chemical equipment. Should the infection not be contained after 48 hours, the on-site nuclear device is to be detonated. Remaining personnel are not to be evacuated under any circumstances. SCP-16 has been shown to survive up to 6 hours on hard surfaces and up to several minutes in the air. High-intensity ultraviolet light and high concentrations of orthothaldehyde solution have been demonstrated to be effective in disinfecting non-organic surfaces. Description: SCP-16 is a blood-borne pathogen recovered from a mine worker in blank, who injured himself whilst working in a deep coal seam. Said wound became contaminated with coal dust from the mine, possibly infecting the worker with dormant spores. Over the next several days, SCP-16 proceeded to infect the remaining employees at the mining camp, as well as the CDC crisis team dispatched to deal with the epidemic. Foundation personnel then took over the investigation and terminated all affected personnel. Patient 0 was brought into captivity, and the mine shaft was collapsed by an explosive device. SCP-16 has an incubation period ranging from 24 hours to 2 years, depending on the presence and number of other human hosts in the area. First symptoms resemble the common cold and include itchy eyes, running nose, coughing, and bodily aches. Phase 2 begins in 48 hours and consists of a controlled form of hemorrhagic fever, and the organism causes a small amount of blood to become aspired in the lungs, creating an aerosol effect. During Phase 3, the host crashes and bleeds out, bleeding profusely from every bodily orifice, including the nose, tear ducts, anus, skin pores, mouth, urethra, and, in the case of females, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word. Blood pressure skyrockets during the final stage. Hosts have been observed projectile vomiting blood to distances of over 5 meters. Should the host survive this near total exsanguination, the pathogen will become dormant once more, returning to incubation phase. What distinguishes SCP-16 from other strains of hemorrhagic fever, such as Ebola and Marburg, is its unusual response to high stress. Should the subject undergo a high-stress situation, such as a life-threatening crisis, the organism will change its survival tactic from rapid reproduction to the rewriting of the host DNA and stimulation of rapid cell division. Major physiological changes occur within the first 24 hours, and complete bodily reconstruction occurring within 2 weeks' time. Most hosts do not survive the process due to heavy demands made on the body. An interesting side effect of the transformation is an increased aggressive urge. It is believed that this may be an attempt to maximize the spread of the virus in a manner similar to rabies. On another note, subjects who undergo bodily transformation no longer appear to exhibit SCP-16's hemorrhagic properties. However, subjects infected by transformed host will still undergo the normal SCP-16 infection process. Addendum. Experiment log of SCP-16's transformative properties. Subject D-16-1. D-Class personnel infected by SCP-16. Upon first showing symptoms, subject's quarters were slowly flooded with water over a 24-hour period. SCP-16 mutated into a teratomorphic state, transforming subject's lungs to gills. Subject survived for 2 more weeks as SCP-16 transformed his limbs into fins, causing his eyes to atrophy, and enhanced his sense of hearing to a ketachine-type echolocation ability. Subject was terminated by draining all water from his quarters, causing it to asphyxiate. Body was subsequently cremated without autopsy. So, in Experiment 1, SCP-16 essentially turned the D-Class into a weird sort of mermaid type thing. Subject D-16-2. D-Class personnel was infected by SCP-16. Upon first showing symptoms, subject's quarters were slowly flooded with water over a 24-hour period. SCP-16 mutated into a teratomorphic state, causing subject to undergo rapid muscular growth and increased bone growth on knuckles. Subject then attempted to escape from confinement by punching through reinforced steel door. Subject was not successful and died by drowning. Note: same situation, 2 different responses. Interesting. Dr. Blank. So, in Subject 2, he was transformed into some weird gorilla type thing, I think. You know, bone growth on the knuckles, rapid muscular growth, higher aggression, that sort of thing, you know. Subject D-16-3. D-class personnel infected by SCP-16. Subject was previously a chemical engineer who poisoned his wife upon discovering her adultery. Upon first showing symptoms, subject's quarters were slowly flooded with water over a 24-hour period. Subject SCP-16 mutated into a teratomorphic state, causing subject to grow an unusual organ on his chest consisting of a chamber and 2 separate tubes. Organ continued to take in water and swell in size until Foundation personnel realized what SCP-16 may be attempting, terminating in the subject by gunshot. Organ was found to contain several gas sacs filled with acetylene gas and oxygen. I'm guessing that's some sort of explosive device, because he's obviously a chemist, chemical engineer, so therefore he would have known of things like that. Okay. So, subject D-16-4. D-class personnel infected by SCP-16. Subject was told to concentrate on forming wings. No stress was applied. Subject SCP-16 did not mutate into a teratomorphic state. Subject died of exsanguination during Phase 3. Subject D-15-5. D-class personnel infected by SCP-16. Subject was told to concentrate on forming wings and place in an acrylic box suspended 305 meters, 1,000 feet, above a mine shaft. A timer was placed outside the box, in which the subject was told indicated the time to release. SCP-16 mutated into a teratomorphic state, causing subject to grow a tentacle-like organ on his left wrist similar to a spider's spinnerets. Subject extended said organ through one of the box's air holes and extended a strong silk-like and extruded a strong silk-like substance, which it then used to secure the box to the cable. Subject was terminated when the countdown reached 0 and the bomb detonated. So, that was SCP-16. This one is a little bit more complicated. Okay? It says sentient microorganism. And as we've seen in the logs, okay, different, like the same virus in the same situation causes different mutations. Essentially, whatever the virus or the microorganism thinks will help the best is what it turns the subject into. Okay? So, you know, there's that. Footnotes. Due to the similarities as fatal contagions that stimulate the production of excess organs, a possible link to SCP-1801 is under investigation. Okay. Well, I think that, you know, we will get to 1801 eventually, essentially. So after this, there is the Shadow Person. It's a very quick one, but I only have 40 seconds left, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, so that is SCP reading from SCP-12 all the way through to SCP-16. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Okay? If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because it really does help, and I mean it really, really does. Okay? But anyway, I'll see you in the next episode. And until then, bye.